What's up, everybody? Hella Flagrant the podcast. It's your main man, Hella Flagrant DM. I'm in here with my brother Sean B. Flagrant, and we got a special guest with us, my main man Peter Packman. We go way back to the middle school days. Peter Packman is a sports card and memorabilia collector, enthusiast. I don't even know what other adjectives to give. You can see behind him, he got all that stuff going on.
All the stuff back there.
You know what I mean? Like, Pete, I'm not even going to, mess up the introduction. I'm going to let you tell the people who you are, what you do, and give us a little insight on, what it is that you got going on, bro.
Yeah, man. Thank you, D. Thank you, Sean. Thanks for having me on, man. Honestly, man, I'm just a big kid, man. I'm just a big kid who y'all know how it was when you were younger and you wanted all these things and you couldn't have them because there were limits as to what could be provided and given to you, right? And I'm at that. I'm able to take care of my family, but also buy the things that I want for myself. So as you see behind me, a whole bunch of toys, still new in box, Black Panther, Marvel superhero toys. That's like one of my niches, but sports cars is just the same, man. I find joy more than anything in collecting and investing in sports cards. But more so recently, I've been into investing and making money in short-term and long-term investing too. But I'm just a big kid, man.
For sure. So, I know, you know what I'm saying? I know you from back in the day, and I know we've been collecting cards since, 4th, 5th grade. Back then, it was just you run to the store, you buy the cards. We had the little Beckett books, and we would see, the value for the cards and would trade them or buy them based on that. What is it like now? What does the market look like in today when it comes to like buying and selling cards?
It's ridiculous, bro. Those days of the Beckett or first of all, those days of even going to the card shop, you're not going to find a card shop. There are some, but you're not going to find as many. You're not going to be able to find cards that are available for kids in stores because adults like me buy them all any chance they get, right? So it's really become a scarce hobby, and it's turned more into an industry. Right. But I kind of think the biggest thing, man, is really the demand and the supply. I think that's the biggest difference that I can point out. Back in the day when we were collecting, there were at least 5, 6, 7 of these companies pumping out massive cards, right? Massive amount of cards. Even 5 years later, if we wanted a Griffey rookie card or something, they'll reprint it 5 years later and say it was printed in his original rookie year, right? But nowadays, we have really two main places, Topps and Panini, who are making all these cards for the most part. Those are the two companies with licenses for most of the sports. So it's not as many companies pumping them out. They're paying close attention to how much they supply, and they know that the demand is growing, right? So they're making sure that they can keep that price point at a place where us consumers can buy it, but at the same time, they're working their magic because on the resale market, man, these things are going for 2x, 3x, 4x, depending on what it is.
Yeah, no, Daryl was telling me a little bit about that. You know what I'm saying? Like just the cards, because I used to collect cards back in the day. Also, I used to have all the upper decks and all them cards. I used to go to a lot of the little card shows that they used to have through the malls and stuff like that. And so I still have a lot of that stuff like right now. So I'm just figuring like, how do you go about if you wanted to, I guess maybe resell them or look, to get them off to different people, because I have no idea how to go about all that right now.
Right. Good question, bro. First thing, man, eBay is everything. eBay is where you go to get a general idea of the value of your card or anything that you have for that matter, really. Because on eBay, you can look at sold and completed items and then search for the most recent sales. And then from there, you get a general idea based on the last few sales of how much value is there, right? So you just go into eBay, type in that card, try and find one that looks in the same condition, because condition is another thing too that's really different from when we were collecting. We'd have a raw card. They call this a raw card, like raw. No, it's not graded. It's not slabbed. So you can send it into a grading company now, and they'll look at it. And based on the surface, edges, corner, and centering, they'll give it a grade from 1 to 10. If it's a 10, of course, you're going to yield a higher ROI, a higher return on your investment, right?
Right.
If it's a 5 or a 6, pretty much worth the same in raw form. So making sure your card is actually in a condition to actually be valued first and foremost, right? Because a lot of my old cards were in good condition because I haven't touched them in 20, 30 years. So
Right,
heck
yeah.
they're in good condition.
Right.
Yeah. So making sure they're in good condition, bro, and just checking on eBay. Checking on eBay, and then if the number doesn't look right to you, a lot of the cars we grew up collecting aren't worth a lot of money, especially if they're not in slabs, if they're not already graded, they're not worth a lot of money because so many of them were printed. But there are those rare cases where some of those cards still hold value in good form. You know what I'm saying? So it's always worth checking it out for sure.
Definitely.
For sure. Now let's talk about a little bit, with this new age of cards trading. There's something called live breaks, and I got to be a part of one of your live breaks, and so I got to see how that works, and that's the only one I've seen. But tell the people what that is and what that means to card collectors and traders.
Man, plain out and simple, you pay other people to open cards for you. Like nobody ever says it like that, but that's all it is, man. And it's addictive though. In 2014, when I really started getting back into collecting and investing like intentionally, I started joining breaks. And what it is these people have a box of cards. I'll have a box of cards. And I'll say, all right, 8 people give me $40, $50, $100. And for each one of those people who give me money, they get 2 or 3 teams for that league, right? Whether it's football or basketball. I open up the box, open up the packs, and Sean, let's say you had the Raiders, Niners, and Cowboys. Right. Any cards that come out of that box that are Raiders, Cowboys, and Niners, I send them to you, right? I send them to you after the break. So those are your cards. So it's a more cost-effective way to collecting and investing because some of these boxes cost, man, $1,000 if you're talking high end, and even more than that. So when you can get a piece of it for $100 or $200, and it's gambling. We're all grown. It's gambling too. I'm not gonna sugarcoat, right? Yeah. These boxes have a possibility of having the card you really want. There's no guarantee at all. It's just like when we go to Vegas or when we bet on sports games. It's no guarantee, but if we hit, we hit. You know what I mean?
There you go. So, that's what I like to hear.
It's another way to gamble. To be honest with you, it's like fantasy sports. It's like playing roulette, like playing blackjack. No different, other than the possibilities. You like the sport. It's fun for you. You know what I mean? If it's not fun or you don't like the sport, it's just simply gambling, and that's it.
Yeah, I hear you. So with that, like even you were saying, like you get a certain team, so it's like whoever on that team you get. So let's say you have a box of, I don't know, basketball cards from the 90s, and somehow I get Chicago Bulls, and I luck up and get a Michael Jordan card. That's mine.
All of them, all the Jordans, Pippins, Stacey Kings, B.J. Armstrongs.
Might want to keep them Stacey's. You keep them Stacey's.
That's the messed up part about it is you'll break a box, right? And more times out of not, you're going to get the Stacey King of today autographed than you will the Michael Jordan of today's autograph.
Right? Of course.
Because that's the probability. That's the gambling of it. These people who produce these things are smart. We know this.
So who are some hot cards right now in today's leagues in NBA or NFL or MLB? Who are some hot commodities?
Man, NBA, you can't go wrong with LeBron, whether you like him on or off the court. Man, his numbers don't lie as far as card. We're just talking cards here. LeBron, and he's solidified, right? There's really not a lot of hype behind that. He has accomplishments that have put his card value and merchandise value, pretty high. Next behind LeBron, man, of course, you got Curry, who's undervalued. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the Kawhis are kind of undervalued to me, but the hype is all around the Lukas and the Giannis and the Zions, players who we know and feel will have great careers. But really, if they get hurt today or tomorrow, their cards are going to be worth zero. Right. Yeah. If LeBron gets hurt today, his cards are going to stay the same.
Right.
So that's the gamble. But then again, if you get in on these players when they're young and when the prices are, lower, then you don't have to worry about trying to buy a Bron at $15K, $20K.
Right.
Years down the line. But for football, Patty Cakes, Patty Holmes, his cards are through the roof. Baseball, Tatis. through the roof, going crazy. That kid's been doing some amazing things.
Yeah.
Yeah, soccer. Mbappe had a nice little run towards the end of that last little championship. Messi and Ronaldo and Neymar, they're solidified. They're stuck there. So, yeah, man, it all depends on who they're talking about.
Got you.
Okay.
So before we get out of here, I know you mentioned having fun with collecting. Tell the people a little bit about Peter Packman, Slavy Sosa, Rip Hamill tops, and the music that y'all got going on behind the collecting there.
All right, so this is what it was, man. In the same fashion of where we Rip Hamill tops is Javid Best. He's actually a former NFL running back. He ran in the Olympics in 2016. Javid and I have had a nonprofit organization for the last 5-6 years. And then my brother Marcus, he's Slabby, right? We're all around the same age. I'm the oldest. Marcus and Slabby the same age, but we kind of got into the hobby around the same time recently, back in May. And one thing that stood out to us was there wasn't a lot of African-American folks doing it, right? Not a lot of black folks, not a lot of color that we can see, because we were looking from a lens that wasn't really high up, so we didn't see a lot. So we said, man, we have to try and be creative and bring culture to this lane as much as we can. And we weren't even going to take it serious. It was mostly for laughs and jokes. But right. Rip actually has more of a music background than us. He actually went to engineering school. He can make beats and mix and stuff. So when he saw the skits and some of the playing around that me and Slabby were doing, he said, nah, we really got to do this, because there's never been a wax rap or music for the hobby ever. So why not do it? I'm an educator, man, and I work in the hood, and all the kids look at me and they look on TV, and most of the people like me rap about drugs, sex, and violence, right? So for me to rap about cards, investing, and toys and having fun, it just gives them another perspective to look at the same time. Like I said, it's just opportunity. We've learned about so many other black people in the hobby who are doing stuff. Naka from Prestige, he owns his own shoe store, shoe shop in Alameda, California. Big shoe sale guy, jumped into the hobby. He is the most entertaining man in the business when it comes to breaking. Like, we thought this was missing from the hobby, so we wanted to bring it, but we're just adding our own style to it, man. We appreciate y'all for being a part of the first video ever. That's history we made. People understand
we love it.
Yeah, man. And everything's in-house, from the beats to the music to the skits. Everything we do, it's one of the three of us doing everything.
That's what's up. That's what's up. We appreciate being a part of the first video. You know what I'm saying? Like, definitely something different. I love the creativity that y'all coming with for the hobby and for the culture. And so I definitely appreciate being a part of it.
Man, on, man. We appreciate that.
Yeah, it's very interesting, man. Just everything you said right now, you know what I'm saying? Like, people definitely need to get on that and pay attention, man. I mean, you don't think about cards and stuff like that from back in the day, but I mean, once Daryl told me about everything that was going on and I started getting into it, and I started thinking like, damn, like, I had hella cards back in the day that I didn't even touch. They're just sitting around in the garage and stuff like that. And it's like, now getting this information, man, I'm just going to go back through and look and see what I got. But it's very interesting. I'm glad you came on here and, you know what I'm saying, and told us all about it, because, I mean, there's a lot of things that people don't know that, with this especially, that they can get into very easily.
Right. Yep. Definitely, man. Like everybody else, just do your research. Just keep your eyes open, ears open. And if it's something that you like and intrigues you, man, then, man, ask some more questions, do some more research, and then go at it if it's for you.
For sure. Well, Peter Packman, we appreciate you coming on, brother. You know what I'm saying? It's always love. We appreciate the support, appreciate the love. And we look forward to the next video or the next song y'all going to drop. And we going to be rocking with y'all, you know what I'm saying, right here on the Flagrant Foul.
For sure.
Man, right on, man. Y'all been on us to day one. We ain't going to forget about y'all, man. For sure, for sure. Appreciate y'all.
All right,
be safe, man.
Love.
All right, brothers.
With my brother Sean B. Flagrant. Shawnee B, how you doing, brother?
Oh, man, I'm always good, man. Playoff basketball, finals basketball, and NFL is all live right now. Shout out to Seattle Storm for winning their WNBA championship today. We're obviously filming on Tuesday, so that just happened. But, yeah, man, sports is alive. Baseball is well and kicking, even though I really haven't watched that much of it.
Don't worry, the A's are losing. We are down 0-2 at the time of this recording and could be worse by the time this goes live.
Right, yeah. So we could be out by the time this goes live. So, yeah. But other than that, yeah, sports is here, man. October is well and kicking. Everything is action all around.
Yeah. So speaking of action, we're going to get right into NFL Week 4. There was some action and there was some non-action. There were some boring games this week too. But yeah, some games got off to a slow start, i.e. New Orleans versus Detroit. I didn't see that game coming off the way it did, but hey, it happened. Sort of like the Tampa game. So let's get into it. NFL Week 4. What did we see there?
Well, I mean, we saw a lot of games. I mean, the NFL continues to have high-scoring games for the most part. That is, nobody's tackling anybody
At all.
So, yeah, there's minimal fans in some places, of course, not. The biggest thing I think that we saw in Week 4 was the things that we didn't see in Week 4, which was some teams not playing. Well, one team not playing. Well, two teams, I guess, because you count the Steelers, who wasn't able to play because of the Tennessee Titans testing positive for the coronavirus, and Cam Newton, who also tested positive for the coronavirus. He, I guess, is asymptomatic and did not feel any or have any symptoms, but he did test positive and was unable to play in the game against Kansas City, which was postponed until Monday night or evening because of it.
So real quick before we go any further, I know a lot of people ask amongst themselves, but let's just ask it right here in the public. NFL not having a bubble, is this situation going to get better or worse? What do we think? Is it going to be like baseball where they have a few cases at the beginning, shake it off, move forward? Or does the NFL need to tighten up its rein even more?
Well, right now, I guess they're trying to look for possibly having teams stay in hotels, which I still don't think is going to help very much. It can minimize situations, but I mean, let's be honest. I mean, right now, I think it's as best it can be. There's only been one game in 4 weeks that has been, I guess, moved to a different date, and one player who wasn't able to play in a 32 team league with 53 man roster. I mean, only having literally one player that tested positive that wasn't able to play, and then one team being rescheduled. I think that's as good as you're going to get, honestly. Yeah, I don't know. I think that they have gone pretty well, considering the situation, but I think it only can get worse. I mean, right now, coming in October, like I said, it's in flu season. Things can happen. I mean, I know a lot of people are probably going to be staying in more because of the cold weather, but that doesn't really help, I guess the virus. But I mean, we'll see. Do you think that things can get better? Because right now, I think it's as good as it's going to get.
So with the number and the thing that always plagues the NFL is the number of people involved in an NFL team, right? There's a lot of people, and those people have to limit the number of people they come in contact with so that they don't bring it into the team facility. And so, while they can up their protocols without having any sort of bubble, the NFL is taking a risk regardless. I mean, you're taking a risk no matter what, but you're taking a much bigger risk without any form of bubble. Now, the logistics of making bubbles happen for football, obviously 10 times harder than anything like a NBA. And then, we see now with baseball for the playoffs, they've reduced teams down to 2 locations to keep that, as secure as they possibly can. But again, that's a lot less people to deal with. I think you're right. I think given the circumstances, the NFL is doing the best that they can. I don't know what else they could be doing besides, again, shutting down whole cities to host teams to have bubbles, which would impede a lot of other things that are going on. So I think they're doing the best they can. I don't know better or worse. I would hope that this works a little bit more like baseball where, you go through a few cases, players, team officials all, realize how serious this is. Everybody limits their contact and, things are going to move forward. But the possibility is just exponentially a little bit larger when you deal with that many more people.
Yeah, and the one thing I will say though that I do not like, to be honest, even though I miss stadiums with fans, is the stadiums that do have fans. I don't think that makes a lot of sense to have 2 or 3 stadiums that do have whatever amount of fans that they do have in there, and then other stadiums not.
Right.
The NFL is a multi-billion-dollar league. I mean, they make money hand over fist. They have the resources to test these players, to get everybody to do the right thing, and to make sure that everybody is as secure as humanly possible right now for this disease without actually putting it in a bubble. Fans are not in the bubble. Fans, right. They can leave and go as they please. They do whatever they want to do. They can get checked. They don't have to get checked. It doesn't matter to them. Like, not saying that they don't, but we don't know if they are, is what I'm trying to say. Right. So putting them in a stadium around, players, coaches, staff, different things like that also walk around in the stadiums and that maybe have to, like, let's say, okay, for example, let's say a food vendor is somewhere or security guard, and they passing by a fan, and the fan maybe, has COVID-19. And for some reason, the security guard, goes down towards the locker room because he's authorized to do that. Somehow that spreads to somebody else. Somebody else can spread it to somebody else, which now passes a coach, player, whoever. And now that's, something that could happen. That's why I don't really like. I mean, look, I understand that right now it's a very touchy subject. I know coronavirus, COVID-19 is, running rampant right now through the world. I know at some point we're going to have to live our lives and do what we have to do. But if it's going to be uniform for 27 other teams, then it needs to be, the other 5 teams need to follow suit, basically is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And so we'll see. We'll see what the NFL continues to do as they, try to have a COVID-19 protocol. Obviously seeing guys like Cam Newton out is not something that you want to see multiple times. You don't want to see your big name players be out. And so, we want to make sure that they get a handle on this soon. So getting back into what we did see, and some of the things that we did see in NFL Week 4. The Cleveland Browns got a win, which did great things for my fantasy team, but Baker Mayfield had very little to do with it. Jarvis Landry was throwing the ball to Odell Beckham, and then Odell Beckham was also on a running back for half of the game, making it happen. That was I won't say uninteresting. It wasn't as exciting as I'm making it sound.
It wasn't great because Nick Chubb was hurt. That's why he was playing running back, which pissed me off because Nick Chubb is on my fantasy team. We won't talk about that. But yes, Odell got off and he killed the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, so that was what I was getting to, though. What does that say about Dallas?
Dallas is a joke. I mean, as a
49er fan, I would love the fact that you say that. I mean, of course, I want you to say that.
Cowboys fans, you know who you are. Good for you. I'm just going to be real. You know this. I know this. We don't need to talk about it. Cowboys are a joke right now. You don't need Stephen A. Smith to laugh hysterically about you guys. You know it yourself. You don't need Jerry Jones to come on there talking nonsense. You know it yourself. You don't need Michael Irvin trying to pump you up. You know it yourself. The team sucks.
Yeah.
The Dallas Cowboys
Skip Bayless.
Suck.
Accept it.
Yeah, exactly. The team is terrible. Look, I have three Dallas Cowboys if you count the kicker. I have Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott on my fantasy team. And one thing I could say about Dak Prescott is the biggest come-from-behind player in all of sports because he has no pressure and he knows he's not going to win. I have never seen a quarterback play so well when he's down by at least 21 points than Dak Prescott. Knowing that he will lose a game regardless, he will throw the ball all over the field. Where is that before you get down? I don't understand it. This man literally seriously, right now he is on a streak. I think he's at least the last 3 games has recorded over 450 yards. each game with 4 touchdowns in each game, and they've lost all of them. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that, listen, Cleveland Browns were the joke, has been the joke in the NFL, since what? John Brown, or what's his name? Jim Brown. Sorry, not John Brown.
Yeah.
Jim Brown.
Since the 80s.
They scored 49 points. 49 points on the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday. That doesn't make any sense at all. I'm sorry. Look, the only team that they beat was the even worse Atlanta Falcons, and that was because the Atlanta Falcons are incompetent.
Yeah,
they don't
they
know how to
just
play
blow
football.
games. They will
Exactly.
blow games.
They're worse. It's funny because Atlanta is the only team that will go up 21 points and lose a game, and Dallas is the only team that will be down 21 points and try to come back
and still lose.
That's in a nutshell. Atlanta and Dallas are pretty much the butt of every joke in the NFL right now.
So, speaking of butts of jokes, Houston, they decided to go ahead and make a change at head coach,
which they should have done 2 years ago.
Yeah, after that loss to Minnesota, they decided that it was time to move on in Houston. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. In a week that had a bunch of other lackluster games, one that was kind of exciting was Tampa versus the Chargers. Yeah, we saw Tampa kind of go down and struggle a little bit early in that, and then Tommy Boy, brought him on back. And
that was vintage. That was vintage time.
Yeah,
because I haven't seen him play like that in a long time.
That's what Tampa fans were hoping for, though. That was the time they were hoping that second half time. That was what they were hoping for all season out of him. So that was a good game. The 49er Philadelphia game was it only was exciting because it was bad. Like, it was two bad teams just keeping it close, but it was not a good game. That was not good football.
That was terrible.
Nick Mullins. Man, Mully. I don't know what you were doing out there. I don't know who you were throwing to other than the other team, which is why you got benched. And CJ Beathard came in and was dicing it up, which is hard to get excited about because you were beating the Eagles.
Let's say what it is, okay? CJ Beathard came in the game with a minute or 2 minutes left. He had nothing to lose. It's the same thing I was talking about with Dak Prescott. Nobody expected him to do anything. Nobody prepared.
Gunslinger.
I don't even think that the Eagles knew he was even on the team. So of course he could come out and throw through, for whatever he did. Look, Nick Mullins is a backup. I mean, we're here in the Bay Area. Most people that watch this show is probably here in the Bay Area. I'm just going to be honest with you. See, Nick Mullins, CJ Beathard, both of them are backup quarterbacks. I mean, Jimmy G is a better. Obviously, he's a starting quarterback. He's a winner. I wouldn't say he's a great quarterback, but he is a good winning quarterback.
Yeah.
But what I will say about that is you cannot expect Nick Mullins or CJ Beathard to lead this team. I know it's Kyle Shanahan. I know you guys like to run the ball. I know that you have George Kittle and your defense was very good last year. But let's be honest. Nick Bosa is hurt.
Yeah.
D Ford never plays.
Yeah.
Your offensive line, McGlinchey, is terrible right now. He is
that right
garbage.
side is a liability.
He is garbage. Trent Williams played a bad game. He will be back for you play better, I'm sure, next week, but he did not play well against the Eagles. You don't have Raheem Mostert. You don't have Jimmy Garoppolo. You don't have Richard Sherman in the backfield, and your secondary is still getting roasted. That one play that was 40-something yards touchdown that Carson Wentz threw to nobody because I don't even know the man's name. That's going to happen. Like you played two bad teams and the Jets and the Giants. Nothing to be proud of. You know what I'm saying? Like, you play Miami. Do not underestimate Fitzpatrick coming out there and lighting it up in Santa Clara. I'm not saying he's going to, but do not think that he can't. If you don't provide pressure on that inside, I'm talking about Eric Armstead and whoever is back there, because I don't even know who the pressure is other than him right now. But if you do not get to that to Fitzpatrick, Fitzmagic, whatever you want to call him, it will be Fitzmagic because he will find his receivers if you do not bring pressure. I will say that right now. The game Sunday night was indicative of what you guys are as of right now. I'm not saying that that's what you guys were or what you guys will be later on in the season once you guys get healthy, but right now that's what you guys are.
So, and I thank you for that in-depth analysis on my team. And before we move on to week 5, let's talk about your team and indicative of where they are right now. Derek Carr had some fancy hand motion during that game where the ball just seemed to find the other team or the ground a couple of times.
Well, let's get into that but we know who Derek is. Derek has done this time and time and time again. Derek likes to throw the ball into the dirt or let the ball go to the other team. I sent you that video on Sunday. I literally almost lost my mind. Look, John Gruden is about fed up with Derek. I'm just going to be honest. This is it. You can see
clearly you are too.
I've been, and this week coming up, I guess week 5, we play Kansas City in Kansas City at 10 o'clock in the morning. The Raiders are notoriously terrible in the morning. Always, you can almost bet your watch on it. They will lose any game that they have to play at 10 a.m., especially in Kansas City. This is a layup for the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not putting the money on the 12.5 points, but at the same time, do not think that it won't get there real quick. I'm just not going to bet it because I don't like betting against my team. I did last week because spread was only 3.5, and I'm going to tell you right now, the Bills came and worked on the Raiders. It looked good in the first half. It was not good after that. The Raiders have a lot of adjusting to do. It's not just Derek Carr. Josh Jacobs ran decent. He didn't run, with the same vigor he usually does, but that's going to be expected. I mean, he's having to do too much. Darren Waller found the ball a little bit, but not as much as he did in, I guess, week 2 against the Saints. Look, two bad football teams. That's all I gotta say.
Not to burst your bubble, but Westgate Sportsbook added a whole nother point to that spread, so you're at 13.
Yeah, I mean, if the spread was 16.5, I couldn't say anything. It could be past 2 touchdowns. It could it could be past 2 touchdowns. I'm not saying it's gonna get there. I wouldn't put my money on it, but it can get there real quick. This is Kansas City. The Raiders have the worst secondary probably in the world right now. I saw that Marcus Joyner got hurt, I think, this past weekend. Jonathan Abrams was banged up, but, I mean, he's still playing. He's probably the only player you have right now back in that backfield, but the thing about it is he can't do it by himself, especially not against Kansas City and all that speed back there. The linebackers are trash. Let's just be honest with it. Linebackers right now are trash. Travis Kelce's going to have a field day. If you want to put 12, 13 on it, go ahead. I don't think that shit. It could get there real quick. Just going to be real honest with you right now. It can get there real quick. It might get there before halftime.
So since we're in the mode already and we're already in here, let's go ahead and look at week 5. We obviously got through Las Vegas, Kansas City. We already talked about Miami, San Francisco, how that could potentially be crazy. And what's crazy about that is there is no line on that as of right now because we don't know who's going to be quarterback. But in some games where we do know who's playing, let's look across the board here real quick. We got Denver, New England. That's not really something to run through. Chargers, Saints. That's an interesting one here. 7.5. They got the Saints by 7.5. Over under is 50.5.
And see that over and under went down. Yesterday I actually looked at it. It was at 52.5, and I was gonna say hammer the under, but now at 50, I can see why. The Saints got their win against Detroit. They had to put out all the stops. Now, right now, I don't know if I don't know if Michael Thomas is going to be in this game. If he is, I probably would lean Saints 7.5. The only problem is the Saints lost 2 of their secondary last week. Now, Janoris Jenkins and also Marshawn Lattimore.
Yeah.
Marshawn Lattimore is the best receiver today. I mean, the best corner that they have. So what does that mean? That means if Justin Herbert can get a clear pocket, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams will be running free all day. So with that being said, if Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram are both playing, and this is why I say wait and check the scouting report. If both of them are playing and Drew is back there, I might take the Chargers with the 7.5 plus 7.5.
Mm-hmm.
If there was a crowd, I would say no. I would take the Saints for sure. But the Voodoo Dome is not as effective right now without the crowd.
No.
So if the Chargers can get home on defense and Justin Herbert is not seeing ghosts in there, because let's be honest, the Saints defense is not what it was, a year back.
No.
I do think that the Chargers can keep it a game.
Yeah. Speaking of disappointing defenses, that I had this defense for my fantasy team for the first 2 weeks, and then they had to let them go because they were disappointing. But the Chicago Bears host the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who we just talked about. Tom Brady in that second half was dicing up the secondary of the Chargers. So going into Chicago, coming off of that kind of momentum, they're giving Brady and the Bucs 4.5. Over under is 44 points. And we are looking at a rarely normal day in Chicago. I thought it was gonna be cold, but it's a 68-degree day in Chicago.
If it was a cold weather game, I might even look at Chicago. Just some of the fact that Brady is older and he's playing in Tampa. He's playing in hot weather, easier to get your body moving. Playing on a short week and Thursday night football, going to Chicago might be a little bit difficult. But let's be honest right now. If you're going to bet anything, just take Tampa. And I'm only saying that because who's going to score for the Bears? Right now the Bears can't generate offense. Nick Foles looks just as bad as Mr. Trubisky. Now, things can change. I'm not going to say that he can't, because Tampa Bay's defense hasn't been lights out either. But if Nick Foles is the Nick Foles that we've seen before the Super Bowl, then I would say, maybe Chicago has a chance. But if I'm Tom Brady, and I remember the last time I lost in the Super Bowl was against Nick Foles and the Eagles, I'd probably have a little bit of revenge coming back for him.
Yeah.
So I think I'll roll with Tampa on that.
It's a little easier to roll with Tampa again. When you look at what they did in the second half of that game, and you just look at the numbers across the board coming into this game. If they go with Mitchie Trib, Tom Brady has almost double the number of yards and touchdowns as Mitchell Trubisky does this season alone. And so like I started off talking about, the Bears defense, especially their secondary, is atrocious. And so if Tom Brady gets loose, and Mike Evans, we already know what that could look like. So yeah, I'm definitely rolling.
And check to see before, if you're going to place a bet, check to see if Chris Godwin's going to be playing. He's been out for a few weeks.
Yeah.
If he's coming back, obviously, Gronk might actually get more. He said Gronk is listed as questionable.
Questionable, both of them.
OJ Howard out for the year. He tore something last Sunday, so he won't be playing. So Cameron Brate, maybe Gronk will get that nod for more touches, but I still don't think that the Bears can generate enough offense, honestly, to keep up with them, especially now with 4.5 points. If it was 7.5, 10, then maybe I would say you take the Bears at home. But at this point, I don't see it. Now, I could be wrong, but until Mitch Trubisky or Nick Foles can prove it to me, I'm not rolling with them. Straight up.
Yeah. So there's some other the rest of these games, I don't want to call them bottom feeder, but you got Jacksonville versus Houston. Yeah, Buffalo, Tennessee, 2 unbeaten teams.
Take Houston first of all. I'd say
Yeah.
take Houston. After
I'll
firing
take
Bill
Houston at
O'Brien,
home.
take Houston. Take
at
Houston.
home. Yeah, I'll
Houston
take
hasn't
Houston.
had a win. They've just fired the worst coach that they've ever had. And I can tell you right now, a lot of those players did not like him at all. If they're going to play, it's going to be this week. Take Houston this week.
Another 2 terrible teams, the Giants versus the Cowboys. They got the Cowboys by 9.5.
This is an interesting one. So, Cowboys, we all know, I just talked about them, how terrible they are, especially at defense. The Giants are just as bad, but one incentive. The Giants' offensive coordinator is Jason Garrett, who used to coach the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know how long, but he was a coach for years back in Dallas before, obviously, being let go and Mike McCarthy taking over. So maybe a little get back, maybe a little knowledge of their system, maybe a little knowledge of their players. I'm as bad as I want to say. I think the Cowboys should cover this. I would not bet it. The one thing I might look at is the over, because I can tell you right now, Jason Garrett doesn't know anything about football, but he does know the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
So
and the Cowboys are, I think, second in points allowed. Like, they give up the second most points this season. So
exactly.
I expect this to be, I wouldn't call it a shootout. It's hard to call this a shootout, but I expect this to be a game where both teams find a way to score, whether it's on pick sixes or some other forms of sloppy play. I'm not saying it's going to be a precise or a precision game where the points are scored.
This would not be Aaron Rodgers versus fucking Russell Wilson. This would not be that. Like, you will not get that. But it might be some points. You're right. It definitely might be some points in this game.
Oh, man. Anything else on this board? Carolina, Atlanta, that's not worth talking about. Atlanta, this is a must-win situation for your coach.
I'd take the over if I had to, but I'd be very leery because both teams are pretty terrible.
At 53.5, I don't know that I could take that because, between them, they average 50 points.
Right.
So
I can say one thing, too, for the Raiders game. The over and under, it's KC with 13, but the over and under is 58. Take the under. It's going to be a lot of Kansas City by themselves. Just take the under. The Raiders are not going to be able to put up any points. They're going to be too tired. It's not going to happen. It's a divisional game. Andy Reid kills them on that. Yes. The other game that I would maybe look to, if I was a betting man, which I am, is the Steelers and the Eagles. The Eagles just played San Francisco 49ers, obviously. We just talked about it with Sunday Night Football last week. That was a game that they toughed out. The Eagles are terrible. I'm just going to be honest with you. But they gave everything they had to beat that 49er team because they did not want to fall any further back in the division. They are actually leading their division with 1 win right now.
That is terrible.
It's the worst thing I ever heard in my life. But they are leading the division right now with 1 win, only because they have a tie.
A tie, yeah.
They go into Pittsburgh as 7.5-point dogs. Take the Steelers. The Steelers got a bye this week.
Yep.
Okay. So it was not forced. It was not planned, I should say. They got one because the Tennessee Titans had COVID. So they got their players rested. They had extra weeks to prepare. They got to watch the 49ers and the Eagles play on Sunday Night Football without rest. They could practice. They could talk about it. They could think. They didn't have to travel. The Eagles now have now traveled from San Francisco, now coming back to Pittsburgh. I'm telling you, take the Steelers.
that's an easy one to take the Steelers, regardless.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they're the better football team. And yeah, I mean, I personally am not putting any money on Carson Wentz, even though the Eagles did just beat the 49ers. I'm not putting my money on Carson Wentz. So
no.
All right. Well, I think that's every. Well, do we wait? Minnesota, Seattle. Seattle. I'm Seattle definitely.
Seattle's going to win the game, but I don't know if I would take 7. Neither one
over
of them
under at 57.
Neither one of them play defense. I could see it being over. I could see it going over. Actually,
yeah.
Yeah, I could actually see that going over. It's a high total, but
they give up a lot of points. Both of
them are going to give up a whole bunch of points. So I would take the over in that. I wouldn't even worry about it. Actually, I might do that. Think about it.
Found your trap game of the week real quick before we get out of here. Trap game of the week: Indianapolis Colts versus Cleveland Browns at 1.5. Over under 47.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good one though. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think the Browns are going to be real high off of their win. If they can generate pressure on the Colts. The only problem is both teams' fronts are really good. And Baker Mayfield and Phillip Rivers are not really good.
Yeah.
So it just depends on who can actually have time to throw the ball. And in the Browns' case, can Odell catch his own passes instead of having Baker Mayfield throw the ball?
Yeah, him and Jarvis Landry going to go through a lot of reps this week.
Yeah, for sure.
Because the one thing about Indianapolis, they do have one of the lowest points allowed. So they are finding ways to keep teams from scoring. So
yeah.
That wraps up NFL Week 5 betting. Again, like we always say, this is for entertainment. If you spend your money on the stuff that we say and lose it, that's your fault. Go do your own research. But you could also listen to us because we typically are close to right more often than not.
And
except for when you put Atlanta to win in a 16 parlay. Like, I don't know why you do those things.
Look here, man. I'm going to be honest with you. Last week I did put Atlanta and I also took the 49ers in that.
Yeah, they messed you up before that even happened.
But no, the worst part about that was actually, I'm going to be honest with you, I was going to take a few other games. One actually being the Patriots and the Kansas City Chiefs, which was taken off the board because of the COVID.
And the Steelers game.
And the Steelers game.
Yeah.
So, well, actually, no, I wasn't going to bet on the Steelers. I actually was going to take the Texans and the Vikings in the over, but because they thought either the Texans or the Vikings, they had played the Tennessee Titans the week before, they thought that they might test positive for COVID, so they pulled the game off the card.
Yeah.
But I had to choose the 2 worst situational teams in that. But whatever.
Hey, that's why you play the game. That's why you play the game. Moving out of football, moving over to the National Basketball Association as we are speaking. And as of this recording, the Los Angeles Lakers have gone up 3-1 on the Miami Heat. It is hard for me to call this, an actual fight. I mean, it is what it is. Players get hurt and things happen, so you play who's in front of you, not taking anything away from the Lakers. But the Miami, Heat are dealing with a Bam Adebayo that just came back after missing 2 games on injury, and Goran Dragic, who likely will not come back at all, no matter how long this series stretches out. And so they're not at full capacity, but they're doing what they can to attempt to stop, LeBron, AD, and the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing hard. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Game 4 was back and forth, but in the end, the Lakers pulled out because they're the better team. Jimmy Butler is playing fantastically. I mean, for somebody that is undermanned and underskilled, I mean, we all know that he is a star, but I wouldn't consider him a superstar. But in games like this, in tough times, Jimmy Butler becomes a superstar.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's enough. Like you said, Bam Adebayo has been hurt. He was the Defensive Player of the Year. No. Runner-up. I'm sorry. Giannis was the Defensive Player of the Year. He was not in the playoffs or the finals right now.
At all.
Bam was runner-up along with Anthony Davis. But if you look at Anthony Davis and Bam Adebayo, Anthony Davis probably has about 3 or 4 inches on him. Bam Adebayo is as tall as LeBron. Let's just be honest. I mean, he's not. He's that, and that's their tallest man that they actually play.
Yeah.
Using him, who's hurt, Bam Adebayo, who's hurt, Kelly Olynyk as your big man, not going to get you very far.
No.
Duncan Robinson is a great shooter, but that's about it. Tyler Hero is a great story. I think he is a star in terms of what he is. He's, very exciting, very energetic, confident player. One of the most confident 20-year-olds you ever see in your entire life. The dude is going to be a fan favorite, from now till whenever he finishes playing, I'm sure. Just like Alex Caruso is, but way better. But he's not enough for them to be the second scorer. Dragic provided a lot for their team. He's obviously not there, like you said. Andre Iguodala is old. And I love Andre to death for what he did with the Warriors, but the reason why he's not on the Warriors is because he's old.
Yeah. And it shows. Whew.
It shows a lot, not just with his hair, but with everything. His body language.
They gotta change up some of these camera angles. I'm tired of seeing the top of Bron's head too. Like they gotta
Bron
stop.
and Iggy, man. They had them spots,
shows,
man.
Boy.
Them spots.
Like that's battle wolves. They'd have been through it with each other in the finals for a minute. So,
really. You go to 6 straight finals, man. That's what you look like. That's what happens. But it's not enough. I mean, let's just be honest. Eric Spoelstra is doing a great job coaching, but he doesn't have enough talent to back it up. It looks like as long as everybody stays healthy for the Lakers, they will probably wrap it up this Friday. And with Game 5, if not for sure Game 6. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm sure everybody in that bubble is ready to go home, and I know LeBron is ready to go home.
Yeah, for sure. I know it. I know that they're ready to go ahead and end this thing. Obviously, Miami, just because of pride and just being NBA players, they're going to play hard and try their best to try to win. But it's very likely by the time some of you watch this, finals may be over, or close to it, or very, very close to being over. So with that, once the finals are over, obviously the NBA is still not 100% sure on what the timeline for the offseason is. But once the finals are over, I'm sure they're going to start working on offseason. We've already seen some moves be made. Mike D'Antoni and the Rockets parted ways, and then the Clippers and Doc parted ways. And quickly, Doc was picked up by the Philadelphia 76ers. And it is rumored to have been said, I didn't hear it out of his mouth, but several sources say that Doc is interested in the possibility of trading away Ben Simmons for the number 1 pick and using that pick to get LaMelo Ball. Thoughts? Prayers? Hopes? Concerns?
Well, I mean, I actually think that's not a bad move, considering, if the Minnesota Timberwolves would be willing to do that, or the Golden State Warriors. It really just depends on where LaMelo will fall. Right now, to secure LaMelo as the number 1 pick, the best thing to do would be to trade with Minnesota, obviously, because they have the number one pick. That way you can pick LaMelo and not worry about, another team picking him before that.
Right.
I don't know if Ben Simmons would be a great fit for what the Minnesota Timberwolves would do. I think he would be an amazing fit for what the Warriors could do. Having Ben Simmons, who, yes, I know is not a great shooter. He doesn't shoot at all. But he does get to the basket. He goes to the basket hard. He plays defense.
On the Warriors, do you
a lot
need
of
him to
people.
shoot?
That's what I was going to get into. I mean, the man plays tremendous defense.
Right.
He was an all-defensive player this year. He, plays with energy. He can jump. He can fly. I mean, he's a bootleg LeBron James, basically. Let's be honest, he's not close to it, but I mean, he's the same size, same strength, same everything getting to the basket. I mean, he doesn't have the skills, but he's close to it. But what I'm trying to say is having him and being able to pass the way he does, and having Steph and Clay running down the sidelines, moving and cutting and doing different things. I mean, he would be a great facilitator, taking the ball out of Steph's hands, so he didn't have to worry about being able to create and just running off picks, which Steph is a genius at once he gets, the ball or the body moving and stuff like that. And we all know what Clay can do when he's a spot-up shooter. He's the best spot-up shooter in the NBA. Yeah. Even having Draymond with that would be amazing, because at the same time, Draymond is somewhat of the quarterback of the team right now, but now having the ball out of his hands and he can more focus on defense, be a screen setter, different things like that. I think the offense would run tremendously with that. I mean, if you just got to throw in a different center, depending on, I forgot they even have Wiggins too. You could even move Wiggins off the bench and have him come in as be the backup or the backup three, but have him be more of a scorer when he comes off the bench, so he doesn't have to have that role of trying to
or Wiggins is a possible trade piece for a center.
True.
You know what I'm saying? Wiggins now becomes a possible trade piece to get a big name center, because we're going to need it. We're going to need somebody big. I mean, Ben Simmons. If Ben Simmons and Draymond Green are our biggest two people defensively, that's not going to last.
No.
But I do like the possibility of Ben Simmons. But that would mean that Anthony Edwards would have to go to Minnesota at 1, Warriors, with LaMelo at 2, and then make that trade. Which, I mean, to a lot of experts seems like a real possibility right now. That scenario seems like a real possibility. So it would be very, very interesting to see if the Warriors could somehow finagle a Ben Simmons onto our team. Salary-wise, it's a lot to deal with, especially still, having Wiggins, Steph, Clay, Draymond, and then whoever we have to pay at center. So that's something to think about right there. But, on paper, it looks amazing.
I mean, that's salary cap. I mean, that's up to Bob Myers and, the GMs over there, Kirk Lacob. And, of course, Joe Lacob, who pays the bills. But, I mean, if it could be done, it'd be great. I do not know if it would be able to be just traded one-on-one for a draft pick, because, let's be honest, right now, Ben Simmons makes about, 30 plus a year. So maybe you would actually have to throw in Wiggins with that just to make the money right. But that's fine with me. Yeah. I have no problem with it at all.
Yeah. So we'll see how that plays off. Couple other things. So right now, obviously we said, Doc is over with the 76ers, the Clippers. Any insight, ideas on who should be? Oh, before we talk about that, sorry, we never really addressed Steve Nash going to the Brooklyn Nets. So that's another NBA offseason thing that we can talk about real quick. KD, Kyrie, Steve Nash, and that little trio.
Yeah, I mean, Sean Marks, the GM for the Brooklyn Nets, basically came out and said it. That's what he wanted. That's what KD wanted, so we hired him. It was just simple as that. Like, he wasn't even about to sit there and explain the situation and why maybe other candidates didn't get looked at. Like, he said KD asked for him, so he was hired. I mean, let's be honest. Let's be honest. KD is your best player. KD is the one that's going to make this franchise what it is. I mean, yes, he didn't play this year, but I mean, we all know what KD brings to the table once he plays. He is, top 3, if not top 2 basketball player in the entire world. So if he wants Steve Nash as coach, you got to try it. That whole mix with him, KD and Kyrie, we've already talked about it, me and you at least. It's going to be ridiculous. That's a whole bunch of...
It's a lot of ego and emotion.
Just egos and emotions.
Yeah, it's a lot of ego and emotion. And,
I mean, we already see right now with Kyrie and him on Katie's podcast talking about now he finally has somebody who can make shots like he didn't play with LeBron James. But,
right.
He says what he wants to say. Kyrie's always like the, kind of guy that will go out and say his little piece under his breath. And kind of act like he never did.
It's cool.
I just think it's funny that you're going to say that while one man is in the NBA Finals right now about to win his 4th ring and you're sitting at home. But probably didn't have to do it right now. But, to each his own.
Hey, it is what it is. We'll see how that plays out next season. So back to my other question, though, the Clippers. Who do we see as possible front man for the Clippers running the show over there?
I mean, you would think it would be Ty Lue. You would think, just because, I mean, he's been in the system. He's been under him. He's already talked to, or not talked to him, but he's already been, working, obviously, with every player on that team. He seems like the realistic candidate right now, but you never know. Sam Cassell is also there. I don't think that they would move him before they, looked at Ty Lue. Right. I don't know. Mike D'Antoni is a name that's still out there. I don't know if his system would work with Kawhi and Paul George. Right now, from what I've heard, I think Kawhi is the only person that's not replaceable on that team. So if I was a coach that was coming in, I would start looking at trade options, because Montrezl Harrell right now, I can tell you right now, he's not going to be re-signed by the Clippers. I mean, he's gonna want too much money, and he did not bring enough value to them once, it was meaningful basketball. Lemon Pepper Lou, I think his days are getting behind him in terms of bigger time moments. Now, he can still have games here and there, but I don't know if he's still the player that he once was, especially not on defense, and people can switch up on him. And we all know about Paul George. I don't really have to explain that. They wasted a lot of draft capital on somebody who doesn't play in the playoffs. So whatever coach does get a thing or get the job, like I said, Ty Lue would probably be the best candidate. I don't really believe in D'Antoni. Mark Jackson, I've heard that. I don't even want to get into that because I don't hate on Mark Jackson, but I know who he is as a coach, and he can't manage that team. But I would, if I was Ty Lue, I would just start making some changes. That's all I could say. And I think Ty Lue would probably be the best candidate, but I would still start making some changes either way.
And I could be wrong, but did New Orleans name a head coach after letting go Alvin Gentry?
No.
Okay. Yeah, so they're another team out there that's still looking for somebody to run the show over there. I could see maybe D'Antoni over there a little bit.
I think that would be a better fit
than the Clippers.
The Pacers also have openings.
Oh yeah.
And there's another team that I'm thinking of that I'm blanking on that also has an opening. Chicago hired Billy Donovan. OKC, because OKC, because Billy Donovan was over there, so that makes sense. Okay, OKC is another team that does not have a coach.
Yeah. I don't know who would fit over there because I don't know what they're going to do personnel wise.
And Houston, because D'Antoni's not there. So
yeah. There's some open spots. I feel like there's more open spots than good coaches left available. So
at this point, yeah.
Yeah,
at this point,
you're gonna have to promote some.
I feel like it's gonna be a
some
swap,
assistance,
like a swap type thing. Like
yeah,
if you know what I'm saying, like D'Antoni goes over here, because Rosen goes over here. Like it's just like
it's
because
just
Billy
moving them
Donovan's.
around.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Just
or
moving them
I
around.
mean, yeah, because I know Jason Kidd is sitting under Frank Vogel, but I really think the Lakers want to keep Jason Kidd long term.
I do too.
So I don't see him getting picked up by anybody as of right now. So I don't know what happened to Fizdale. Nobody even talks Fizdale anymore. Like he just got written out of the league.
Yeah.
And he was out, to me, he was a decent coach. I just felt like he was on some bad organizations that had bad management, but I don't think he was a bad coach.
I think he was a great coach. I really do.
Yeah.
I think he got a lot. I think that Miami tree in general is great. I really like Eric Spoelstra, even though he's having a tough time right now. But I mean, I do like Fizdale as a coach. I just, like you said, I think that he didn't have a lot of players buy in when he's at Memphis, and then coaching the Knicks. Nobody's going to win over there in New York at all. So,
right.
We'll see. I think that there will be a few. I think after all this stuff that goes on with COVID and everything like that, I think that depending on when the season starts next year, there's going to be a lot of changes in the house because we just don't know what kind of season we're going to have because we might start NBA basketball in a bubble again.
Right.
And so that might change a lot of things because I'm going to be honest with you. I think a lot of what happened in this bubble wouldn't have been indicative of what would have happened had it not been a bubble. I think the Clippers would have had a better chance. I think a lot of teams would have looked completely different had it not been a bubble. I don't think Doc Rivers would have been fired if it wasn't had it been a bubble because I really think the Clippers, I wouldn't say quit on them, they just didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
So
and I could say that I could see how the bubble impacted things in ways that were outside of just basketball. Obviously, the name Lemon Pepper Lou comes from the fact that he left the bubble. And so that in and of itself, obviously in Houston, D'Antoni, I mean, you don't want to blame one player for not having your job, but that Eric Howe situation, you know what I'm saying? Like that impacted the team. You know what I mean? Like you were a lot less competitive, which in turn made you lose that series. So, obviously the bubble did impact some of that. But some of this was leading up. You mean a D'Antoni and a Doc don't get fired after one bubble season. Like they've had multiple instances and occurrences of losing in the same areas of the playoffs. So yeah and no. Some of it yes, some of it no. It's just kind of it kind of is what it is. And if they have a bubble moving forward, it is what it is, and you got to figure out how to manage your team in that bubble now. You know what I'm saying? That's a part of your job. Unfortunately, it just is what you have to do now. So we'll see. Like we said, NFL or NBA finals underway, and probably will be wrapped up soon, leaving us with baseball's in its postseason. We're gonna hope that the A's go further than they normally do, which, like we said, it's not looking good right now. It looks like the Yankees will probably move. I mean, we're losing to the Astros, but in general, it looks like the Yankees will move forward in the American League. And we'll see who pops out of the National League. Hockey's done. Basketball is about to be over. So it'll only be football.
Yeah.
So keep tuning in right here, Hella Flagrant the podcast. We're going to have all your sports news. Whatever sports are active and whatever's going on, you guys can check in with us. We're going to have all your Hella Flagrant stories. Hella Flagrant the podcast, theflagrantfoul.com, www.theflagrantfoul.com. It's where all this information lives. Follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. We're on all the major podcast streaming services, Apple, Google, Amazon, whatever they are. We're on all of them. We're out there. SoundCloud. Find us, like us, share, whatever it is you feel like you want to do. Flagrant Foul. Merch is coming back soon. It's really I promise. I know you said that before, but
we getting it together. We
really are. It's before the holiday season, so you can get your favorite sports fans some Hella Flagrant merch for the holiday season.
Yep. I mean, we do this for y'all, so just keep tuning in. If anybody ever wants to be on the show, contact us, please. We will be looking for people that have sports knowledge, obviously. So, yeah, flagrantfoul.com, obviously our Instagram and Facebook pages. Please, 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 serious people that want to talk sports and just have fun and, vibe with us. But we do this for y'all, so check us out, man, please.
All right, y'all, on that note, we up out of here. We'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.